Hello and welcome to another Mondays with May. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for choosing to come back, hang out, and spend a little bit of your day with me. And thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel. Hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies, and I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, and completely colorblind. So I mostly knit and crochet by feel. And so today, I will be crocheting with you. I know I rarely do that on camera on Mondays with May and on Whip Wednesdays because, well, crocheting can be a little bit more challenging for me than knitting. It's already proving to be more challenging for me than knitting. And I'm just getting started. So we'll see how that goes, right? But if you watched my Start Something Saturday video, right? Come on. Did you watch it? Did you? It's okay if you didn't. It's okay. You can say so. You can say you had better things to do on the weekend. It's okay. But something that I talked about in there was I was like, what do you want to do in October? What projects are at the top of your list, And I was like, pumpkins. Pumpkins say fall to me, even if you don't celebrate Halloween, right? I grew up not celebrating Halloween, but you know what? Pumpkins are definitely still a part of fall, right? And especially where I grew up actually in a very agricultural area, right? Lots of farms around and stuff. So, pumpkins, pumpkin patches, all the things, the harvest. And so it's very, very much a part of fall, even if you don't celebrate Halloween. And so I always think of pumpkins very much as fall decor, no matter what, right? So I'm like, you know what? That's something that we can kind of like all do together. And so I kind of feel like I invited y'all for like a pumpkin, like a little pumpkin making gathering, right, with me. And so then I was like, are you really gonna ask them on Saturday to like make pumpkins with you and then like show up on Mondays with May not making a pumpkin? I mean, I might be showing up on Mondays with May because I'm not doing a very good job of working this pumpkin while I'm talking to you guys. But I was like, you can't show up on Monday and not at least my yarn splitting, y'all. Ooh, my yarn is splitting. And not be making a pumpkin, right? If you invited these people on Saturday to like make pumpkins with you, what else are you going to be making on Mondays with May except for pumpkins? So let me know if you are. Let me know if you're knitting them. Let me know if you're crocheting them. Or maybe you got a whole nother hobby that you like to do to make pumpkins. I don't even know. Pumpkin decor. Are you decorating for Halloween or just fall in general? Or are you one of those people that likes to change up your decor in the fall, even if it's not for Halloween? Let me know how you're doing that, right? Are you doing like full on like lights and skeletons in the yard and all those things? Or are you just like, yeah, nah, like how do you like to just do like leaves and kind of natural fall things, or go all out like scary Halloween stuff? So anyway, I'm calling more of like the just the pumpkins and the leaves and the autumn type stuff. But it's all right if other people do that stuff. I don't mind if you put like skeletons out in the yard, provided that they're not real, right? I mean, I'm not really down with like real skeletons in the yard, okay? But it's all good though. We can decorate though and have fun. So I don't really care if other people. I think it's fun if other people want to do that stuff. So I want to hear from you what your craft is this week. I want to hear from you. Say hello in the comment section, right? Let me know what it is that we're doing today together. Let me know where you're watching from today and what we're doing together today. Are you making your pumpkin with me today? Or are you making something else? Like what's on your needles and what's on your hooks today? I want to know. I want to hear from you. Like what did you, if you watched my if you watched my Start Something Saturday, did that get you excited about making anything like on what I was talking about? Are there things on there that you're like, oh, yeah, I want to do that now, right? I mean, or are you doing like, what are you doing? I mean, I like to do that because I always have so many ideas, right? I'm constantly like, oh, that'd be fun. Oh, that'd be fun, right? And it's always more ideas than I can ever make. So I often kind of, it's like I'll get an idea to do one thing and then I see something new and I get another idea. And so I'm kind of all over the place. But I know occasionally, I also love to watch the other YouTube channels to kind of be like, oh, what are they doing over there? That'd be fun, right? Um, and, it's sometimes so we also can get into like a slump with our crafting, right? Where we're like, I don't know, right? I don't know what to make next. And so I've had that before. And so, I just thought if anybody else is out there and kind of like in their little, lost their crojo, maybe, right? Like lost your crojo, then that could help you get it back, right? It can help you kind of get you inspired, get you some ideas. So was there anything from that video that you wanted to make? Is it pumpkins or is it something else? And did you see my tutorial? That's right. I released another tutorial. Yeah, I did. This is for a beanie. It's a shell and trellis beanie. But I want to know if you watched the tutorial. Did you make it? And do you want to make the scarf? I actually made a scarf. When I designed that, let's see if I can find it. I thought I had it right here. I don't even know, y'all. I thought I had, here it is. Oh my goodness. So when I designed that beanie, I actually have a scarf that goes with it. So I showed this on my channel a long time ago when I first started my channel. I was often showing pictures of this scarf and this beanie, and I was like, you want me to teach you how to make it? And I was always thinking I'd teach you how to make it, right? And then I was like, I don't know if I should teach crochet on the internet because I do it so different. So I went through the whole doubt thing, right? So I never got around to teaching it, right? Well, I actually do have the scarf here, so I'm definitely like more, like contemplate. I brought it back out. It's sitting right here on the bed with me. So let me know if you've made the beanie, and let me know if you want to do the scarf tutorial, right? You want to do that too? Because I definitely could try and make that a priority. Don't know exactly when that could happen, but hopefully if people are interested, let me know. I might be able to do that. We might be able to get that out. I hope. I got a lot of things on my mind this month, right, for October. But I want to hear if you're making pumpkins with me. I want to hear about it, okay? I want to hear like what yarn are you using, okay? What's what other people who are visually impaired to know that while I'm crocheting, I am crocheting, by the way, with the color Satsuma, right? So it is orange. I'm doing an orange color. I don't know if you watched one of my recent yarn unboxings. I'm trying to think which yarn unboxing that was. I want to say it was, I'm trying to think which one it was. Oh, that's embarrassing. I can't even remember which one it was. But I have a recent yarn unboxing. I think it's my Knitpicks We Crochet Labor Day Sale Part 2, which I believe, I'm trying to think when that came out. I think it came out the weekend that the tutorial did. I'm pretty sure the weekend that the hat tutorial came out. Pretty sure it came out then. But it should say Knitpicks We Crochet Labor Day Sale unboxing, new yarn, Mighty Stitch Super Bulky, right? Because that is a new yarn to Knitpicks and We Crochet. And so, of course, as somebody who's doing yarn content, right, on YouTube, I'm like, aren't I supposed to get the new yarns, right? Aren't I supposed to get the new yarns and try? I wish I could. I wish I could get them all. I wish I could get all the new yarns and a bunch of colors and try them all out for you. So, but I can't. But I do shop at Knitpicks and We Crochet a lot. And so I did grab some of this at the Labor Day sale in the Knit Picks We Crochet super bulky, the Mighty Stitch super bulky. And that is, well, their Mighty Stitch, Mighty Stitch, their regular Mighty Stitch is a number 4 worsted, right? And I believe it's 80% acrylic, 20% superwash wool. So it's a really nice, it's one of those nice easy care, right? It's one of those nice blends of the acrylic and superwash wool. So it's one of those like easy care yarns that's great for like blankets. If as long as your charity or place you're donating to will take some with wool in it, right? Then it's great for that. But some don't. But just blankets for yourself, right? Blankets for you, blankets for your children, your grandchildren. Gifts just for like personal friends. I personally like the added touch of wool to a blanket. Honestly, I really do. I love that. I'm thinking more of like for myself blankets. I kind of like the cottons and the wools and some of those natural fibers. So I like that it's a blend of wool and acrylic. I haven't worked with it, but I just recently, I want to say it was from the summer sale maybe, when I unboxed some Mighty Stitch, and I think it was in like just the color bark or something, just like a plain old brown. That's probably one of the colors that was, marked on sale or something. But I do like browns too. I think browns are really good autumn colors. It's good neutral for me as somebody who's colorblind. So I got some of that in the bark. I think it was bark. It could have been a different color. But I was really pleasantly surprised by how soft that yarn was. I really was. I was like, wow, that surprised me. So of course, when I saw that they have Mighty Stitch now, and look at the size. Look at the size of those strands. Are those not huge? Those are huge, right? Those are huge strands of yarn. So of course, when I saw it in the super bulky, I was like, oh, you gotta get some of that, right? You gotta get some of that and try it out. So because normally for a super bulky of this size, I would probably be crocheting with like a 9mm hook or a 10mm hook or something like that, right? Like a nice big hook. I'm not doing that today because we're making a pumpkin. It's that amigurumi style thing. We want those stitches nice and tight, right? I mean, we don't really want the innards coming out of our pumpkin, really. I mean, showing, like we don't really want our innards showing, right? So it's nice and dense. I'm wanting to make a really nice, dense, thick fabric, and then we're gonna stuff it, right? And so because of that, I'm hooking down tremendously in size. I'm hooking down to a 7mm hook, and I normally would not do that with a super bulky. I just, I would definitely go with like a 9 or a 10. I gotta put my stitch marker back in here. I've got, I have a stitch marker here at the beginning of my round, y'all. I have to do that when I'm working in the round in a project like this, especially if I'm trying to, talk and have a conversation or something, right? So I've got to keep that beginning of round stitch marker in there, and that just tells me how to keep track of my, otherwise I'd probably just crochet and crochet till I ran out of yarn, and then I would be like, oh yeah, you got to make some decreases, right? So, but I'm hoping, I only got six skeins of the super bulky. I was thinking like that should be plenty. I want to have like 3 to crochet a pumpkin and 3 to knit a pumpkin. I'll be honest with you, I think there's not a lot of yardage, which is typical for a super bulky. So I'm not being like overly critical of that when I say that. Like most super bulkies, we know it, right? Most super bulkies, there's not a lot of yardage. I almost think these are something like 44 yards or something like that. So they're not real big seams. They're definitely dense. This is a dense yarn, okay? It is. This is a really thick, dense yarn. So you're not getting a lot of yardage, and so with something that I'm doing with this pumpkin, it's definitely going to be a nice big dense pumpkin. But I'm actually not even making this pumpkin because it's such a big thick yarn. I'm not even making the pattern as big as they say to you, but I'm just using this pattern as a basic guide. I'll show you what pattern we're using. If I can, let's see. So I'm getting my pumpkin patterns from Knitpicks and We Crochet. They're free patterns off the Knitpicks website, and they're called the Spice and Clove Pumpkin Patterns. I've got one that's pumpkin. The spice one is the knit one. Oh, we're getting a notification from Krista at the Secret Yarnery. That's nice. So, but we're doing the spice and clove pumpkin patterns. We're doing knit pumpkins here. We're doing crochet pumpkins here. I'll do a whole Finish Your Friday. We'll discuss all my pumpkins in detail, all that. But, I am using, that's a free pattern. So if you just knit and you don't crochet, well, there's a pumpkin pattern for you. And guess what? If you crochet and you don't knit, there's still a free pumpkin pattern for you. So let me know, where do you get your pumpkin patterns from? Where are you getting your pumpkins from? Are you doing YouTube tutorials, or are you doing free patterns? Are you doing paid for patterns? I want to know, like, where's the best pumpkin patterns at? Like, free is good, right? Free is good. So I'm definitely starting with that, right? I'm like, I can do that, and I knit and crochet. No, I do have some knit pumpkins that I made the other year, and I'll probably still talk about them on Finish Your Friday, just to share them with people who knit and are looking for something different. Because I like to talk about that, put that info out there for people, right? So, and those other knit pumpkins are, yeah, they're a YouTube tutorial. But this is the Spice and Clove free knit and crochet patterns from Knitpicks. But here's the thing, okay? Like, when you look at patterns for things like amigurumi or decor or something like that, guess what? You don't have to use the recommended yarn, right? You don't. You can, like, do your own thing, okay? Because that pattern is written for the wool of the Andes sport. I'm like, no, no, I'm not gonna crochet a pumpkin in sport weight yarn. I could knit a pumpkin in sport weight yarn. I could definitely knit. You probably want to use like a 3mm needle or something like that, and I could knit a pumpkin in a sport weight. I can knit with any weight of yarn, okay? I can knit with super bulkies like this. I can knit with lace weight. You've seen the lace weight vine lace mohair scarf on my channel. So I can knit with any size yarn. I can knit with any size knitting needle. I can do it. But when it comes to crochet, I definitely am challenged by the thinner yarns and the smaller hooks. Okay, I did crochet a pumpkin. We'll talk about that on Finish Your Friday, with the Brava Baby DK and the orange, and I did that one with a 3.75mm hook, and that was challenging for me. Okay, it was. And so I'm not going to try and crochet a pumpkin in a smaller yarn than that at this point in my little crochet journey. I'm like, you're not up for that. Be proud that you did it in a DK, right? Be good. Oh, my yarn is splitting again. I'm having issues with splitting because I have more issues with splitting, and I say that all the time, like, if I'm gonna have issues with a yarn splitting, it's gonna be with crochet, right? And it's going to be when I hook down, right? When I go to a small hook, when I'm trying to get some really tight stitches in there, that's when I'm gonna have issues. And so I did just split my yarn again. I had to rip that out. Ooh, look at that. I'm really doing some damage to that yarn there. And so I don't think most people have as many issues with yarn splitting as I do. I think it's partially, well, I think it's partially because I'm newer at crochet. I think it's partially because I've hooked down to a tight hook. But I think it's partially how I crochet. As somebody who's visually impaired, I do manipulate my yarn a lot more, right? I touch it a lot more. My neighbors do a lot of target practice. I live in a very rural area, a very remote area, and so people are very much allowed to shoot on their own property. And so you're hearing that right now. And, you know, I have no idea how long you'll hear that. Sometimes they literally do their target practicing for hours. So just saying, you might hear some shooting going on out there. It is legal out here. You are allowed to shoot on your own property. So it's very, very much legal. Where I live, they're not, and you know, if they were shooting like that for hours at 2 o'clock in the morning, it could be a noise violation. But this time of night, it's not, right? I don't know what time it is, but it's not even 7 yet. So you're very much allowed to shoot on your own property at 7 p.m. out here. No restrictions on that. So anyways, just saying, that's what you'll be hearing. But anyway, so this pattern is written for a sport weight yarn, right? And I don't want to do that, right? And so that's the cool thing about like decor and stuff like that. Just keep that in mind, okay? If you're looking at that pattern and you're like, I am not gonna crochet with you know, a probably like a 3.5 millimeter hook on a sport weight yarn, then don't, right? Don't. I am crocheting the pattern with a super bulky and a number 7 millimeter hook, okay? So, you know, I wouldn't allow that sport weight thing with like a 3.5 millimeter hook to intimidate you at all about that pattern. If you look up that pattern and you're like, oh no, not doing that, don't, you know, grab another yarn, the yarn of your choice, and then probably hook down 1 to 2 hook sizes, right? If you're crocheting, especially with knitting, you tend to get a denser, tighter fabric anyway, so you don't have to necessarily jump your needle size down as much. But with crochet, with something like this, you definitely want that, you know, those tighter stitches. And I'll be the first to tell you, when it comes to amigurumi, I am not good at it, right? I tell myself all the time, practice it, but I'm not good at it. I'm not good at working with the smaller hooks. I'm not good at really getting those stitches tight, you know. And I'm a tight crocheter, but I'm trying all the time to definitely loosen up my tension, especially when I'm working things in the round, right? So they don't spiral, right? I'm really trying hard to loosen up on my tension so that my projects don't spiral and all that. So I'm actually doing a good job at that. But then I have to remind myself that when I go back to things like amigurumi, I actually want to crochet really tight, right? This is the time when I really want that tight gauge, when I really want to pull on that hook and get those stitches nice and tight, right? So, but don't be afraid to choose whichever yarn you need to make pumpkins, okay? Don't let a sport weight yarn on the pumpkin pattern keep you, right, from making pumpkins, right? Like I said, I did on a DK with a 3.75. I would say if you're going to use a worsted weight yarn, I'd probably try a 4 millimeter hook. If you're going to use the chunky or the number 5 yarn, I'd probably go with a 5 milli. And, you know, with this super bulky, because it's such a thick yarn, I'm going to go ahead and you know, that's why I'm choosing to use a 7 milli. I probably could have gone with a 6.5, but this is a thick, like I said, it's a really thick, really dense yarn, and so I think it's gonna be fine. I could regret that. I could look at it later and be like, should I go and do a 6.5, right? I might regret not hooking down a little bit. I've done that before with my amigurumi. I've made amigurumi. I've showed them on the channel. My bees, right? My little bees. My bees. Be crafty and be creative. I should have hooked down on those, right? So with these pumpkins, I definitely should. You know, I might regret it, but I don't know. It's a thick yarn. So far, I think it's creating a really nice, dense pumpkin. So I'm not too worried about it. You know, the stuffing might show through some, but, you know, my other pumpkins, guess what? My stuffing's showing through a little bit. Okay, it is. And it's usually on the decreases that I have the most. I'm going to be honest with you. Like the rest of it, I do a pretty good job at. It's those decreases, right? You got to pull those decreases really tight. And so that's where I tend to have problems with my amigurumi is I just can't pull those stitches as tight as I need to, which is strange to me because I do crochet really tight. When I look at some of my first doilies and stuff like that, they spiral really badly. And part of that is just because my tension was so tight, right? So I'm moving my stitch marker over again. I'm going to shuffle that around so I've got my marking at the beginning of the round here. So I'm choosing to do mine in the Mighty Stitch super bulky with my 7 milli. And I think it's a wood hook from Knitpicks and We Crochet. But I want to know what yarns you're using, right? I want to know what patterns you're using. I know what color you're making. I need to know the details about your pumpkins, okay? Because we're here to share with each other, right? We're here to share patterns. We're here to share ideas. We're here to, like, just build a community and inspire each other. We're here to get ideas from each other. So I want to know what yarns you're using. I want to know what colors you're making yours. I want to know what patterns you're using for your pumpkins. We need to share those details. We need to, I might discover a new pumpkin pattern that you're using. So I will definitely try to remember to link this one up down below in the video. But like I said, don't be intimidated by the whole sport weight thing, okay? Don't look at that and be like, I can't do it as sport weight yarn. No, you can. You can do it in whatever yarn you want and just, choose hook down from the recommended hook on the label, okay? So I want to talk about that with y'all. And then I thought I'd tell you guys something funny and ask you your thoughts on this. So when I made my Start Something Saturday video, right? I did a Start Something Saturday video and I talked about pumpkins and I was like going to the pumpkin patch as a kid, right? And talked about that. And I do think that's cool. It's a good memory that I have. I enjoyed it. I think it's a great thing to do with family. So, but I did that video. I recorded that video. And then the very next day, I got on the Google, right? Got on the Google, my Google homepage, and was like, just there to start looking up stuff. But of course, they have their stuff there too, right? They have their articles and their recommendations for you. And one of the very first things that came up was a pumpkin patch in Bennett, Alabama. Yeah. And so, which is cool because I would have never discovered that, right? I live in Washington State, and we got lots of cool pumpkin patches here in Washington State. If you're looking for something fun to do with your kids, with your family, with your friends, and you're in Washington State, definitely Google the pumpkin patches. There's pumpkin patches, and they've got like all kinds of different little farms where they got different pick stuff. They've got hay rides, a lot of them. A lot of them have like little gift shops, and some of them have like petting zoos, and some of them have corn mazes and stuff like that. But I would have never even thought to look up, pumpkin patches in Alabama, right? That would have never occurred to me. But lo and behold, there on my Google is listening to me. I feel like it's, we always feel like our devices are listening to us these days, right? We do, right? Do you think your devices are listening? I think my devices are always listening, right? Because they're waiting to hear their word, right? The wake up word, the word that we use when we talk to them. They're waiting to hear that. And then when they hear that, then they answer us, they respond, they do something. So we know that our devices are always listening to us now. And so, I definitely feel like when I was making that video, my phone was definitely listening to me talk about pumpkin patches. And so it was like, oh, she wants to hear about pumpkin patches. And they looked up an article for me that posted right up there on my Google page about a pumpkin patch in Alabama called Bennett Farms. And it actually looks super cool. I'm going to be honest with you. That looks like fun. Petting zoos and corn mazes, and it looks like a really cool place. I don't live anywhere near it. I've never been there. I'm not endorsing their business. I'm like saying I went there and had the best time. I'm not saying I went there and had the worst time. I'm just saying that the Google found me the Bennett Farms pumpkin patch after I made that video. And so, I want to hear from you. Like, have you heard from Bennett Farms pumpkin patch before? And what do you think? Do you think that's cool that my phone was listening to me and found me that information? Or do you think, do you guys want me to turn the light on? Is it getting too dark for y'all to see? Kind of wonder about that sometimes. Like, can you still see? Okay, I'm gonna turn the light on. Because I'm kind of thinking that y'all, you sighted folks, might not be able to see. How's that? Look at my pumpkin. Look at my pumpkin, y'all. Sorry about that. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, is it cool that we now know about Bennett Farms in Alabama and the pumpkin patch and the corn maze, or is it creepy? Put it in the comment section, cool or creepy, okay? Let's hear it. Cool or creepy? I mean, I'm kind of like it's both, okay? I am. I'm like, well, it is cool because I'd never heard of Bennett Farms before, would have never looked him up before, would have never learned about him before with their big old corn mazes and stuff. So it's cool that I know about him and I can share him with you, right? That's cool. But I don't know, man. It's still kind of creepy too, right? I mean, so I can honestly say it's both. I can say it's cool. I can say it's creepy. Um, for me, it's definitely mixed feelings, right? Y'all know that. Like I use the AI and the Google all the time. You guys, I have a tech Tuesday Tech Talk video where I show you how I use the different apps to help me identify yarn, how I use AI to read to me and tell me colors, like on the Google search bar. Now, I love that it has that camera feature now, right? As somebody who's visually impaired, I love that it has that camera feature. I love that. I use that all the time for colors, okay? Colors on my screen for yarn now. When I'm looking to buy yarn, you know how many times I hit that? I use that and I ask it, what color is this yarn? What color is this yarn? I use it here in my house all the time. I use the camera feature, hold it up there, and I'm like, what color is this shirt? What color is this fabric? What color is this yarn? Okay, that thing helps me way more than any of the color identifying apps ever have. The color identifying apps, I need to remove those from my phone, in my opinion. I'm like, y'all are like useless now, right? Those things, I'm so glad I never paid for a subscription to some of those, because they were just useless, so useless. So I'm so glad now that I can just use my Google camera on my phone and be like, what color is this yarn? What color is this shirt? I do it multiple times a day. So I absolutely know how useful, AI can be, especially to somebody with a disability, right? To be able to use my phone, to look around, to take pictures. I've used it to identify birds in the yard and different things. I've heard birds outside, pointing my camera at it, taking a picture, and then just ask it, like, what bird is this? And it's like, that's a California quail, right? And I'm like, alrighty then. So it's super cool that I have the AI that can look around, that can identify stuff for me. Like, I love that. But it's still creepy, right? I mean, it's still creepy. So I've got super, like, I know how much it's helping people with disabilities. I do, right? Like the fact that AI can, the fact that AI can now, transcribe, the subtitles and stuff like that. Like, that to me is cool. It's not always accurate. Like, we know that. We know it's not always accurate, right? But it's cool that it can now transcribe subtitles so that people who, it can do it like instantly, right? And so that's cool because people who are deaf and hard of hearing, they don't have to wait, right? They don't have to wait. Does this person do subtitles, and they have to wait and it's delayed. So I do think it's super cool that the AI can transcribe almost immediately so that people who are deaf and people who are hard of hearing, they don't get left out. And that's really, really important, right? That's super important to me, that we really try to have, accessibility for everybody. I've had a lot of friends who are deaf and deafblind and, visually impaired and deaf, and that's super important. So I do love that AI allows us to do that. That's super cool. But, you know, at the same time, then people used to do that for a living, right? There were people that was their job was to transcribe. Well, guess what? There's definitely people now in the world who've lost their jobs. So anyway, I think I'm at the end of my round here, y'all. I might have one more little stitch here. I'm going to do this one with y'all. But people have lost their jobs to the AI now. So I don't know. Do you guys want to hang out and do one more round of the pumpkin? What do you think? What do you think? It's gonna be a big pumpkin. Oh, so I was gonna talk to you about the pattern too. Okay, so let me know in the comments, creepy or cool, on now the fact that we all know about Bennett Farms in Alabama because my phone was listening to me make a video on Saturday, right? Creepy or cool. So, okay, the other thing I was gonna talk to you about this particular pattern is it has you start, you start this pattern with just your typical it's your typical amigurumi type pattern, right? It's a free pattern, okay? So it's like 6 single crochets, and then you work your increase in your typical, right, like amigurumi pattern to 12 and all of that. So it's worked up in a multiple of 6, right? So you work that multiple of 6 up to 60 is what they have you do with the pattern, because you're working it on a sport weight yarn, right? So even on a sport weight yarn, that's not going to be a very big pumpkin, right? So, but I am making my pumpkin with a super bulky yarn and this Satsuma, and so they wanted me to, I was looking at a 60, and I was like, that's going to be a really big pumpkin. And I only bought 6 skeins of yarn, and I want to knit a pumpkin with it, and I want to crochet a pumpkin with it, right? So I did try to go up to 60, but that, I mean, I was like, went through an entire skein of yarn just doing that, and I was like, I still got to get through the body of that. Was just to get me to through all the increases, right? I went through an entire skein of this yarn because these skeins really aren't huge, right? So, and I was like, I still have to do the body of the pumpkin, right? The main section, which is what we're working on now, right? That's why I can talk with you and do it, because because we're not doing any shaping, right? I did all the increases before I came on camera, right? So I'm just doing single crochets. And so I knew though that was going to take more yarn than the first part of the pumpkin, right? Where we had fewer stitches, right? And so I was like, I need to have, if it took me 1 skein of yarn just to get through the part where you work the increases, I'm not going to have enough yarn I'm going to need, to knit a pumpkin and crochet, even though I know knitting does take less yarn. Like, I'm very, very aware of that. I'm like, knitting takes way less yarn than crochet. Like, we know that. So, I did think about that I could probably have used like 4 skeins for the crochet pumpkin and 3 for the knit. I could have probably gotten away with that, but I just wanted to be sure, right? So so for me, what was I say? So I decided, and since this pumpkin is obviously plenty big, right? This is gonna be a big pumpkin, right? I mean, you can see this gonna be big, it's gonna be big. So what I decided to do was I'd worked it to 60 stitches, and I was like, that's gonna be big, and I don't know if you have enough yarn to have 3 skeins for knit, three for crochet. So I went ahead and ripped it, that last row where I got up to the 60. And so this particular pumpkin, we're only doing it the 54 stitches around, because it's still gonna be huge, right? It's still gonna be a big pumpkin. So that's just something I want to put out there as well. If you are choosing to make a pumpkin in a super bulky yarn, you absolutely could, right? If I bought 10, like, y'all know I love my 10 packs of yarn, right? You're like, this is the one time. Here we go. This is why I have to justify to myself why I buy 10 packs of yarn, y'all. Here we go. Okay, the one time that I don't buy a 10 pack of yarn, what happens? What happens? Yeah, I run out of yarn. I don't have enough yarn to crochet a pumpkin and to knit a pumpkin. Yeah, that's what happens when May doesn't buy a 10-pack of yarn. So Judgy McJudge out there who watches my video and is like, you don't need to buy all your yarn in 10 packs. You don't need that much yarn, right? Because I know you're out there. Whoever's out there who looks at my yarn orders and like, you don't need to buy a 10-pack and all your yarn. Obviously, the one time that I didn't, the one time that I showed some restraint and only got 6 skeins of yarn, I ran out of yarn. There wasn't going to be enough to have, a crochet pumpkin and a knit pumpkin with this yarn. I would have definitely needed another probably 4 skeins for the crochet one to get it to the 60 in this size, and then still having enough. Like I said, I might have been able to do the knit pumpkin with 2 because knitting does take less, but I don't know for sure. And so I didn't want to run out, so I am making mine smaller. So definitely don't be afraid to modify a pattern, right? Whether you're changing up your yarn or whatever. And that's something just to keep in mind too, right? When we're working with a bulky, and that's just, okay, that's something else that we can totally talk about, is that, when you're looking at patterns, it's really a good idea to stick within the weight, right? You can exchange yarns a lot of times. You'll be like, well, it's a number 4. I can change it out for a number 4. I mean, not all 4 yarns are the same. Boy, I know that. But, you're fairly safe to kind of play with that a little bit. The gauge might be like, 4 stitches per inch versus 5 when you're talking about knitting, right? Your most of your number 4 worsted weight yarns are anywhere from that 4 stitches per inch to 5 stitches per inch. So believe it or not, overall, like, around my person, right? If there's, a whole nother stitch added for each inch, that's still a lot of excess fabric. So you can't necessarily say all number 4s are, interchangeable without a doubt. That's not necessarily true, right? But you do have some flexibility. It's usually a lot easier to sort of like, swap yarns if you stay within that category. But definitely know that if you are changing up your yarn to a whole different weight, then yeah, you definitely can, change down your stitch count, right? If I'm like, okay, well, I want to take this pattern for a number 4 worsted and work it up in a bulky. Well, okay, then you're really going to probably want to change the stitch count and reduce, right? You probably want to reduce the stitch count, right? So no, I probably would be really careful about the math and doing that on like garments, right? But it's a pumpkin, right? It's a pumpkin. So the only reason that we're not making a giant pumpkin with 60 stitches is because for once, just for once, I had some self-control and some self-restraint, and I didn't buy a 10-pack of yarn, okay? That's the truth. Now I'm regretting it, and now every time that I shop at a knitpicks in a We Crochet sale, I'm going to be like, remember the pumpkin incident? Remember the pumpkin incident when you didn't have enough yarn to make your giant pumpkin? So every time I see that sale now, I'm going to be like, get your 10-pack of yarn or you're going to have a pumpkin incident. Yeah, that's going to be going on in my head, y'all. So, anyways, I think I'm almost, not quite, I got a few more stitches to go on this. So, I definitely want to hear from you. I want to know what's on your needles. I want to know what's on your hook. I want to know if you're going to make pumpkins with me. I want to know how you're doing and how your weekend was, right? How was your weekend? I watched hockey on my weekend. So, hockey's back. And I am watching college hockey, loving it. I'm excited about that. I sometimes pre-record, right? And I'm definitely grateful for that because there could be some hockey nights when I don't record. So we don't want that, right? I got to stay a little bit ahead of the game so that if I need to skip a Friday or a Saturday or something, because, watching hockey, then I'm okay. Alrighty, my friends. Well, I think I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna probably do maybe like one. What do you think? Like 1 to 2 more rounds? 1 to 2 more rounds. I hope I see. Here's going to be the one thing that's going to challenge me. Okay, this is the one thing that I should talk to y'all about using a super bulky, like a big old yarn with this. Okay, here's the one thing. This is just like a ball. We're basically just making like a big old ball, right? Like a round circle. And then to actually make it look like a pumpkin, right? We're going to make it look like a pumpkin. We got to take our yarn and we got to put it on our needle and we got to like shove it through the pumpkin and wrap it, right? We got to wrap it. So I could have a serious issue here where I can't get my yarn, right? I'm going to be real with you. Once you stuff this thing, finding your needle and having it actually come through and not losing it in your stuffing, in your pumpkin, could be a real issue for me. So I probably, that's going to be the one thing that will limit you on these pumpkins. I'm just saying, if you're like thinking you're going to make a pumpkin as big as your head, which, you know, I mean, at this point I am, right? This is really just a hat for me. At this point, I can't actually wear orange. It's not a good color for me. I am not Shannon. I love Shannon at Another Yarn, but I am not Shannon, right? She loves her orange yarn and she can wear it. I cannot. But really at this point, I've just made a giant hat that's even too big for me. So my big challenge now, I probably should just stop because I might not even be able to complete this pumpkin, y'all. I could have it all sewn up and I might not be able to get that needle through to the bottom to where I can wrap it and make the ridges. So I might have to come back to you on Finish It Friday and be like, here's the sad story of my pumpkin. I couldn't find my needle and wrap my pumpkin, right? That could actually happen. So I might have in orange, y'all. If I can't wrap it and get the ridges for my pumpkin, then guess what? I'm just gonna have an orange for Halloween. Just a big old round ball. That's gonna hang out with me, right? So we could be like taking our magic wand crochet hook here and being like, it was a pumpkin, now it's an orange, right? So anyways, my friends, I think I better go or I'll just sit here and chat with y'all and do another round and my pumpkin will get huge and oversized, unmanageable, right? I mean, so I better go for tonight. But of course, as always, what do we got to end with, right? Creativity is for everybody, whether you see or you see like me, which is not in color and not really in the day, or you don't see at all. Creativity is for you. And whether it's knitting or crocheting or sewing or quilting or beading or sculpting or painting or weaving or carving or whatever it is that you do, today is a great day to craft and create. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now. Put on my orange pumpkin hat, y'all. Put on my orange hat. Put on my orange hat. Yeah. Okay.